Hey, welcome to An Actor's Library with me, Carlise Burke. It's been a minute, but I am back. I'm going to try to do this on a monthly basis. And I am so excited about the book that I just finished reading. It's called Grace Notes by Katey Sagal. And there's a little bit of a backstory before I got to this book. I was at a variety summit. Oh gosh, it was probably a few years ago now. And there was a panel of showrunners. And the showrunners in this industry, for those of you who don't know, we usually call them the suits. The network people, the creatives, the creator of the show, the writers. They're not called the suits, but they usually attend these events dressed in suits. And they look very executive-y, if that's even a word. But there was one chair empty that a panelist hadn't shown up yet. And right after the panel started, in walks this stunning man with a ponytail and tattoos all over the place, not dressed in a suit. And the panelist joked about he probably arrived on his motorcycle. So he started to talk and he shared, and he was just different than all of the other people on the panel. There was just something about him. And I was like, who is this man? I didn't know. I was intrigued by him and I wanted to know more. Come to find out, it was Kurt Sutter who created Sons of Anarchy. So I became a fan of his and a fan of the show, and I started watching the show. And while he was on the panel, he talked about creating the show for his wife, to give his wife a vehicle. And I was like, well, how romantic is that? I mean, I want to know more. So I start watching the show to find out who his wife is. And I find out that it's Katey Sagal. So now I'm even more intrigued, and I'm watching the show, and we all know Katey as Peg Bundy. Most of us do, from Married with Children. But now I'm seeing her as Gemma in a whole new light. I mean, she is kicking ass in the show, and the show is fantastic, and I'm watching it, and never would have tuned in if I had not been at that particular event. So cut to, now Katey has written a book, because I've been following Kurt, I've been following her, I've been following the show, and now she's written this book called Grace Notes. So of course I have to get the book, because I still want to know more. I'm intrigued with this whole family, with everything that they're about. I'm just fanning out on this family. So I get the book, Grace Notes by Katey Sagal. And I love her story. I love the fact that she wasn't even headed toward being an actor. She was a singer and a musician. That's where she wanted to have her claim to fame, as my mother would call it. But her father was maybe a director. I can't remember exactly. But he didn't want her to be a musician, not for the reason that most of our parents don't want us to be into show business. But he wanted her to choose acting because he felt that he could help her more in that area than in being a musician. But she wanted to sing. She's an amazing singer. I was intrigued by so much in this book, but I just want to share a couple of my favorite moments. One is when she talked about being roommates with Mindy Sterling, who I also happen to know, and I've worked with as an actor. Had no idea that she too was a singer. And they had a duo, and they recorded, and they worked together. They were roommates, and they worked with Etta James. Katey Sagal just casually mentions being a part of Etta James' family and singing with her and knowing her. I mean, really knowing her, going on the road with her, opening with her. Etta James, y'all. Etta James. That is, oh my God, it's amazing. And another thing I didn't know about Katey was that she sang background for Bette Midler. She was one of the Harlettes. I mean, who knew? So cut to her Hollywood life. She gets into acting, and she's Peg Bundy. And later on in this book, another one of the gems that I wanted to share was her, well, first of all, let me just go back a little bit and talk about, I love the way she gave chapters to her 3 beautiful children. Each one has their own chapter, and it was just so heartwarming to read a mother's words about her children and how she honors their authenticity and their individuality. It was just like I said, heartwarming to read. So that was another highlight. And she talks a little bit about Hollywood lessons, but she doesn't give the lessons toward the end of the book, like this is what you need to do and what I learned is this, and that. She just tells her story, and it's so rich, and I got so much out of it, especially when she talked about having done the Peg Bundy role. And now, where does she go from there? Because people want her to be Peg Bundy. People fell in love with the character and how people can confuse you for your character. And so it took her a minute to move into the drama, but her husband, Kurt Sutter, helped her make that all happen. And it was just magical and brilliant. So when I heard that she wrote this book, Grace Notes by Katey Sagal, and I saw that she was doing a book signing at Barnes & Noble at the Grove, I had to go for a number of reasons. First of all, I respect authors like you would not believe. So I had to go, I'm looking for something special to show you, get her autograph. Can you see that? That's Katey. Ah! And I had to ask her face to face, girl, did your husband write Sons of Anarchy? Did your husband write Sons of Anarchy for you? And she just smiled and she nodded. And I was like, girl, let me give you a high five. That is the most romantic thing I have ever heard in my entire life. So get the book, y'all. Read it. Whether you're in the business or not in the business, I will probably read it again. But Katey, yes, I am a fan. I'm fanning out, girl. I'm fanning out. So get Grace Notes by Katey Sagal. It's a must read as far as I'm concerned. This is going in my actor's library. Okay? All right. Be a star where you are.